Okay, welcome guys to the first prediction video, breakdown video for UFC 297. This is Marshall Inside, and I will be breaking down every fight from the early prelims up until the main card for UFC 297. First off, I will say English is not my primary language, so if I make any mistakes, pronunciations, and stuff like that, yeah, I'm sorry for that. I will do my best to make you guys understand my points, and I will try to make it as clear as possible for you guys. So, the first fight, Malcolm Gordon versus Jimmy Flick. Both guys 33 years old. Both guys haven't had much success in the UFC. Malcolm Gordon losing his last two fights, Jimmy Flick losing the last two fights. Something to keep in mind with this event. It's taking place in Canada, and usually you can see that the UFC has made favorable matchups for the home fighters coming out of Canada, which is also something I see in this matchup. Although the line is close, having Malcolm Gordon at minus 130, I think he should be a slightly bigger favorite here. Jimmy Flick needs to get a first round submission usually to win his fights. If he doesn't, then he probably gets ground and pound, TKO or losing a decision here, where Malcolm Gordon will push the pace in the striking, try to keep it standing, and maybe in the later rounds get a TKO stoppage or probably a decision win. That's my take on that one. Yeah, I think the odds should be more in Malcolm's favor, more than they already are. On to the next one. Jasmine Vicious versus Priscilla Cerera. Another Canadian, and now against a Brazilian fighter. Jasmine Vicious, 34 years old. Priscilla Cerera, 35 years old. Same height, a slight reach advantage for Jasmine Vicious. And she's a pretty big favorite here. And I hear a lot of people disagreeing with her being such a big favorite, but I will say that I agree with the line, and I think she should be a even bigger favorite in this spot. And that's because I think she's very durable. On tape, she took a beating from Natalia Silva, didn't get dropped, and Natalia Silva is extremely powerful. And then again, Priscilla Cerera is also very powerful, but not as technical gifted as Natalia Silva. I think Cerera's only chance of winning this fight is if she can somehow catch Vicious early on in the fight, where she got her most power in the hands, like she did against Aaron Lipsky. In this one, inside 1 minute, I think she won the fight. And yeah, but Priscilla Cerera's main weakness is the grappling, is the wrestling, and I think Jasmine Vicious got such a big advantage here, and I don't see how Cerera probably has more than 30 seconds to 1 minute each round to try to knock out Jasmine Vicious until she ends up on the back, where Vicious will take her down and dominate her, probably get a late round 2 or round 3 submission, maybe a decision win. I lean more towards Vicious getting her second submission win in her career. She usually doesn't get it, but in this fight, I think it's pretty likely with how bad Cerera's submission defense has shown to be, especially in her last fight, where Maverick struggles sometimes getting the submission, but she got it too when Cerera was very tight. So yeah, that's my breakdown for this fight. Jasmine Vicious is my pick. On to the next one. Johan versus Patterson. Sam Patterson, who got brutally knocked out by Janal Ashmus in his last fight, as a big favorite. Many people expected much greater things from him. Yeah, I wasn't sure who to pick in that one, so I stayed off in that fight. Sam Patterson, the Future is his nickname apparently, but I'm not so sure if you get brutally knocked out by Janal Ashmus. Maybe it was because he was cutting too much weight. He was pretty big for lightweight division, being 6'3", 78-inch reach. Very big fighter for the weight class. Cutting a lot of weight can lead to decreased durability. And yeah, durability needs to be very good here. Moving up a weight class against Johan Lainez, another Canadian. Brutal knockout power. I remember him fighting Gabe Green, where he almost put Gabe Green completely out, and Gabe Green somehow managed to take the shots, get back up, and win the fight when Lainez was completely gassed after beating up Gabe Green. And in this fight, I think if Sam Patterson still got his durability concerns, even moving up a weight class, I think he would probably lose the fight by a first round knockout from Lainez. But if he has fixed that, the durability concerns, they're no longer there, moving up a weight class, I think he could use potentially his grappling to make it a good fight, maybe a close fight. I don't know about that one. I think, especially we saw Lainez, like in the Darren Weeks fight, managing, even though his gas tank wasn't the greatest, but he managed to make it a close fight and win the split decision. And in his last one, you can't really blame him for losing to Mike Mallard, who's a great Canadian fighter himself, also fighting on this card against Magny. So yeah, my prediction is Lainez by a first round knockout with using his extreme power to take out Sam Patterson. Oh, and a comment on the odds range. I think they are. I think it could be slightly more in Lainez's favor, but they're probably pretty accurate with the unknowns. We don't know about Sam Patterson, how he's gonna look moving up a weight class. On to the next one. We got Jillian Robertson versus Viana. And in this one, I think a lot of people will be, they probably be on Jillian Robertson as I am. She's also the moderate favorite here, and I think for good reasons. She got in my opinion, a big grappling advantage here, both wrestling wise and BJJ wise. I think on the feet, Viana is probably the sharper and faster striker, but Robertson is tough, and even if she does get pieced up on the feet, I think she will be able to take it down, since Viana doesn't defend takedowns pretty well at all. And I think also Jillian Robertson should be a better grappler in my opinion than someone like Lucindo, who even got a submission over Viana. And yeah, I think that's gonna be the main factor here. Viana probably, maybe she can pull off a first round knockout. Seems unlikely. Even if Robertson gets hurt, she will just try to take Viana down. Viana doesn't have the takedown to keep it on the feet. She might be able to use her reach advantage on the feet with 67-inch reach, but I think even if she's gonna look good in the striking against Jillian Robertson and have an advantage there, I think she will get out-grappled by Jillian Robertson and probably get submitted in round 2 or round 3. That's my prediction, and I think we are getting a crazy good line on Jillian Robertson. Usually the ones Jillian loses to are the ones that can use the takedown defense to keep it on the feet and outstrike her. Viana could outstrike her, but she doesn't have the takedown defense to keep it on the feet. So yeah, that's my take on this fight. So these two guys having to pronounce Cerera is pretty hard for me. And Ramon Taveras the second, I think that was pretty correct pronunciation. I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments. But in this fight we got another Canadian, which is kind of the theme of this card. A lot of Canadians being either slight favorites, moderate favorites, or big favorites for that matter. And CD is looking to take on Ramon Taveras again. For the people who doesn't know it, they have fought before, 4 months ago in a contender series, where it was an early stoppage. CD dropped Ramon Taveras, and the referee stopped the fight way too fast before Ramon was out. So now they have put up the fight again, and I don't think it's gonna be much different this time around. So CD is my pick. I think he even got a pretty big grappling advantage. I think on tape he's really good with the grappling. His striking is also very polished, and maybe Ramon is more cautious this time around, maybe. But if he isn't, then I think he gets knocked out again. If he is, then I think CD will use his grappling, take it down, and probably win that way. Keep in mind, Ramon is a very good boxer, powerful, so be aware of that. If you're betting, be careful with these debutants. Yeah, that's all I gotta say on this one. CD, height and reach advantage, nothing major, but he's slightly bigger in both areas. And yeah, people are also picking CD, which is understandable from my view. Now on to the next one. Charles Jourdain versus Sean Woodson. Okay, so in this one we got a pretty big discrepancy in height and reach. Woodson having a pretty big height advantage and a 9-inch reach advantage. And yeah, he's really tall for the weight class, also really skinny too. I think this one, Charles Jourdain, it could be a close one. Keep in mind, Woodson could use his length and maybe do it slightly better than Andre Ewell that Jourdain fought. Can't remember when. Let me check. Yeah, he won a unanimous decision against Ewell, who's built similarly to Sean Woodson. But yeah, in that fight he struggled a bit with the jab, but nothing major. I think Sean Woodson looked way too prone to getting hurt on the feet against Luis Saldana. So I think this fight will be not much different to the Ewell fight. Maybe Woodson can make it a bit closer and Jourdain only wins the fight from moments, hurting Woodson here and there. I'm not so sure. I think it goes the distance. If Woodson is tough enough to take the hits from Jourdain. Jourdain has struggled to finish the fight on the feet, but if it gets to the ground, he got a nasty guillotine choke. Very dangerous there. So yeah, I think the odds they are probably accurate. Maybe I would say it's a bit closer than the odds indicate. Yeah, that's my take for this fight. I think Charles Jourdain by a close decision, where he wins the fight with the moments having more power than Woodson and hurting him in the striking. For the next one, we got Brad Katona versus Garrett Armfield. So this one I've discussed a lot with my buddies. The thing is, Garrett Armfield, he's 27 years old, improving a lot from fight to fight. His last fight he looked amazing, but against a very bad fighter. So sometimes fighters can look better than they are when they are fighting a pretty bad opponent, of course. And then we got a veteran in Brad Katona, another Canadian. And again, he's favored to win this fight, and I think that's accurate, but Armfield is the better boxer here in my opinion. Katona is quite tough, so I expect it to go longer. But the thing is, the reason why Katona is favored in most eyes, and in mine too, is the grappling. I think Armfield is not the greatest grappler. He lost to David Onama by submission, where Onama was losing the striking battle, but when he started using the grappling, then he took over the fight and won by submission. And Katona usually doesn't get the submissions. He gets a lot of decision wins, a decision machine, but he got one there. I think Katona, if he's really using the grappling here, pushing the pace with the grappling early on, getting Armfield tired, I think he wins by round 2, maybe a round 3 submission, probably by a decision. Let's keep in mind that Katona usually doesn't get submissions. The only reason I'm saying a submission is live for Katona here is because Armfield has been submitted twice in his career early on by Mario Vogel, I think his name. No, Matteo Vogel, a German guy. Where Armfield beat him up early in the first round and then got taken down and submitted. Kind of like the David Onama fight, just where Armfield had a greater advantage on the feet. So I think Armfield, better striker, better boxer, faster, more powerful. Katona, super tough, better grappling. Armfield, maybe, being 27 years old, could improve the grappling fast enough to maybe make it more competitive than I think it will be. So I think the line is pretty accurate, with the unknowns being in Armfield's improvements, but I gotta side with another favorite, Brad Katona here. So yeah, you guys notice I'm picking a lot of favorites this card, but it's Canada card. I think the Canadians are naturally favored here, with the UFC giving them matchups that they probably should win, especially in the eyes of the UFC maybe. I'm not sure, but usually that's the theme of these cards, and let's see if it's with this one too. But on to this one, a really good fight between two high-level featherweight fighters, Allen and Movsar Evloev. Movsar being the undefeated Russian prospect, 17-0, against Arnold Allen, the English fighter, who was undefeated in the UFC up until he faced Max Holloway in his last fight. No shame in that. Holloway is one of the greatest featherweights of all time in the UFC, so let's not talk too much about that one. I think for the prediction of this fight, we have to look at the wrestling of Allen and the get-up game, and then the striking difference. Okay, so guys, both of them are pretty much the same age, probably improving at the same rate. The reach is slightly favored in Evloev's favor, and the height is pretty much even, slightly in Allen's favor. Evloev is a really good wrestler. The thing is with Evloev is he doesn't have great top control. So he can take you down, but he's not great at holding you down. Fighters usually gets back up again fast. That leads to, for example, in the Ige fight, Evloev took him down lots of times, but couldn't always keep him down. And the same with the Dawodu fight. And then in the Dawodu fight, in the third round, he looked pretty tired. He couldn't wrestle as much, and that led to Dawodu having moments in the striking where he was winning the fight. As for Arnold Allen, I think the only fight I saw his grappling really be tested was against Nick Lance, who's a pretty decent wrestler. And Arnold Allen was doing a great job using the fence to get back up, making himself heavy, making it hard for Lance to control him, have the body lock on Evloev. I think he was really good at rotating his body, so Lance couldn't take his back all the time. And yeah, but of course we haven't seen enough on Arnold Allen to make sure that his wrestling is up to par with Evloev at all, and I gotta favor Evloev here. Maybe Allen pulls it off, I'm not sure, but I think it's very, very likely to go the distance here. None of them are big finishers. Evloev, not at all, for that matter. He has 7 fights in the UFC, 7 decision wins, and he's not going to finish Arnold Allen. Allen, not the biggest finisher himself either. This one was a knee injury on Calvin Kattar. This one was a good finish on Dan Hooker, who was moving down a weight class, so his durability was compromised by the weight cut. The Sodik Yusuf fight, where Allen hurt him pretty bad twice. That was pretty impressive fight from Allen. Yeah. So yeah. Nonetheless, I'm very confident this fight goes the distance. I gotta favor Evloev, the undefeated Russian wrestler, to probably win the first 2 rounds and lose the third round and win a unanimous decision 29-28, maybe a split decision. That's my take for this one. In the striking, I haven't mentioned that, but I think Allen is the sharper fighter for sure. Evloev got a great jab, pretty good hooks, but he's too hittable at times, and Allen will find him with the jabs himself and straight punches. And Allen got very good footwork, very good, very impressive, good range management, and yeah. But I'm still going with the Russian undefeated wrestler Mosa Evloev by decision. On to the next one, and we got the first Canadian fighter that's an underdog on this card, and that's Marc-Andre Barriault versus Chris Curtis, the Action Man. Chris Curtis, 36 years of age, and Marc-Andre Barriault, 33 years old. And in this one, it's a tough one, I would say. I think the power is on Chris Curtis' side. He's the better fighter at fighting in the pocket. Usually Curtis struggles winning fights when against someone that can use the kicking range and stay at a distance, kicking and moving, and Curtis never catches up to him like Hermansen did in the unanimous decision win. And Gastelum implemented the same things, a bit more in the pocket fighting, but he was using leg kicks too and moving. And then up until the head clash, Imavov was also using the same tactic. Yeah. Then he got a win over Buckley by knockout, very impressive. Buckley was looking good up until Curtis caught him with a counter left cross. And yeah, great fight against Rodolfo Vieira, where he proved that his takedown defense is elite, and then he picked apart Vieira in the striking. Now for Marc-Andre Barriault, he hasn't faced the same level of competition as Chris Curtis. He got wins over Eric Anders, Julian Marquez, lost to Anthony Hernandez, and Chidi Njokuani, and another win over Jordan Wright. So his wins are not very impressive compared to Chris Curtis' wins. And the thing about Barriault is that he's usually waiting for his opponents to gas out, and once they gas out, he will put on a lot of volume himself, but he's still pretty hittable, but then he will break them in round 2 or 3 with the volume after they gas out. And I don't think that's the case here with Chris Curtis. He won't let that happen. He's got pretty good cardio management, I would say so. He's not the one to like use unnecessary energy. So yeah, I think Curtis is just better in the pocket. He got better boxing, he got better defense, boxing defense, and I don't think he will gas out. And if he doesn't gas out, that's usually Marc-Andre's winning criteria for his fights. So I think Curtis might do something like Njokuani, land a big shot, probably not as early as Njokuani did, but he will land a big shot, probably knock out Marc-Andre Barriault. And this is the first Canadian I'm not favoring on this card, and he's also an underdog. So yeah, I keep picking favorites, but this card I think the favorites are rightfully favored in their certain specific matchups. But let's move on to the next one. And that's Neil Magny versus Mike Malott. And Mike Malott is extremely talented, no doubts. Has won last five fights in a row. 4 by submission, 1 by knockout. Neil Magny, 36 years old, getting up in age. Losses to Ian Gary, Burns, and Shavkat Rakhmonov. Not bad losses at all. That's the top fighters in the division. And I think that's what people forget. Although Magny is getting older and slower, I agree, but he still beat Daniel Rodriguez by submission in round 3. And although he didn't look too great against Phil Rowe, he won a split decision, hugging each other up against the fence for the whole fight. Pretty boring fight, to be fair. But yeah, Mike Malott, the problem I got here is he looks like the more talented fighter, but I think he's way too big of a favorite in this spot. Probably should be around minus 200. The thing is, Mike Malott, extremely good, but has faced very low level competition. He's never went the distance, I think, other than a draw. Yeah, his only draw fight was went the distance. Every other fight has ended inside the distance. And I think he's untested in a 3-round fight, and I think it might play out closer than many people think. But I could also be very wrong here, and Mike Malott just uses his finishing abilities to just either knock Neil Magny out or submit him. I wouldn't be surprised by that either. I'm just saying, be cautious with this one. It might be a bit too steep of a line for Mike Malott, and Magny might prove that he's a veteran and has only lost to the best fighters in the division. So yeah, keep an eye out for this one. I'm still picking Mike Malott. I'm just saying, be careful. Neil Magny might prove that being a veteran of this game and being as untested and unproven as Mike Malott could cause some problems here. Yes. on to the co-main, and I got my first underdog pick of the entire card, and I think Rael Pennington is going to win this fight against Myra Bueno Silva. And yeah, so Silva main strengths are the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for sure, decent striking, decent wrestling, nothing great. I think Pennington is really using her experience to get all these decision wins, and one submission win here, but she's not going to submit Myra Bueno Silva. Silva is way too good of a grappler to get submitted by someone like Pennington. So yeah, Pennington up in age, 35 years old. Bueno Silva, 32 years old. I think this one, either Silva pulls off a submission out of nowhere, or Pennington keeps it on the feet and outstrikes Myra Bueno Silva to win a decision win over 5 rounds. And I think that's what's going to happen. I have to pick Rael Pennington for a decision win in this fight, and thereby picking an underdog. Yes, that was about time. So the main event: Strickland versus Dricus Du Plessis. I'm not sure I pronounced that correctly. Dricus Du Plessis, maybe, or Dricus Du Plessis. Regardless, you guys can make fun of me in the comments for my pronunciations. Yeah, okay. So for this fight, we got Strickland, who won his last fight, being one of the biggest underdogs, against Israel Adesanya, completely beating Adesanya over 5 rounds, using his Philistines boxing stance and defense to just roll the punches and then box Adesanya up with pressure. Dricus Du Plessis, also huge underdog in his last fight, and won by finish against Robert Whittaker, who many people thought that he would just outskill, myself included, Dricus Du Plessis. Both guys surprised a lot in their last fight, and I'm actually not sure who's going to win this one. It's a hard one to pick. Each guy got the same height, same reach, and Strickland, I think, got the boxing advantage, cardio advantage, pressure advantage, defensive advantage, and should be able to keep the fight on the feet. He's training with Magomed Ankalaev, I know, and he's training with Johnny Eblen too. And as for Dricus, I think he got the power advantage, he got the BJJ advantage maybe, and maybe a bit more relentless, harder kicks too, a bit more unorthodox, but yeah, I think I gotta lean towards Sean Strickland here, using his Philistines to fend off the biggest hits from Dricus, and once Dricus doesn't have as much power in round 3, round 4, round 5, then I think Strickland will push the pace and probably get maybe a late finish or a decision win, using his boxing and pressure and takedown defense to win this fight. And it's very close for people. Actually, people are favoring Du Plessis, and by knockout heavily. Interesting. I don't think Dricus will knock out Strickland. Strickland has only been knocked out by Alex Pereira and Zaleski. Zaleski was a wild spinning heel kick, and Alex Pereira, the hardest hitting middleweight ever, in my opinion. And even Jared Cannonier couldn't knock out Strickland, so I don't think Dricus can do it either. But let's see. I'm not too confident on either side here, but I think Strickland, either round 4 or round 5 finish, or maybe a decision win. So that's it, guys. My most confident picks on this card is Jillian Robertson and Jasmine Du Plessis. And yeah, that's it. You guys, be careful betting some of these fights. Maybe they could turn out closer than they should be. But just always make sure to use the right management of units. And if you want to get my plays, reach out to me on my Instagram, Marshall Insight. There I will post the plays and my bets, and I've up over 90 units last year and the last year before that. So yeah, and I'm planning to do it even better this year. So if you guys want the bets, reach out to me on my Instagram, and I will put a link in the description, and make sure to like, subscribe, and yeah, just let me know if you want more of these videos, and I will gladly post them each weekend. Have a good time. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening. See you.